Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to cover the absolute foundation of getting high-quality, relevant answers from any AI system, an introduction to prompt patterns. We'll focus specifically on how to use personas and context to transform the AI from a generic tool into a powerful, specialized assistant for your work as an accountant and financial professional. So, let's start with a basic question. What is a prompt pattern? A prompt pattern is simply a repeatable, structured approach to writing the prompts or instructions that you give to an AI. You can think of it as a template or a recipe that helps you get more predictable and much higher quality results from a large language model like ChatGPT. A great analogy for this is a financial model template in Excel. Instead of building a complex model from a blank sheet every single time, you would start with a proven structure. Prompt patterns do the exact same thing for your conversations with AI. The first and most important pattern we will learn is the persona pattern. This is the technique of instructing the AI to adopt a specific role, character, or level of expertise before you ask it to perform a task. The key phrase that you will use to activate this pattern almost always begins with the simple words act as A or assume the persona of A. This simple instruction is the first step to unlocking expert-level responses. This might seem overly simple, but it's incredibly powerful. So why does it work? A large language model is trained on a vast ocean of text from the internet, covering everything from poetry to legal documents to computer code. When you assign a persona, you are essentially telling the AI which part of its vast brain to use. You are focusing it on the specific subset of its training data that is relevant to the role you've assigned. This immediately helps the AI understand the required tone, vocabulary, context, and format for its response. It knows to use professional language, to understand accounting-specific terms like amortization, and to structure its answer the way a professional in that role would. Let's look at a concrete example. A bad generic prompt would be to simply ask, explain how to account for inventory. The result you'd get would be a very generic textbook-style definition of FIFO and LIFO. Now, consider a good prompt using the persona pattern. Act as a senior manager in an audit firm. Draft a memo to your junior audit team explaining the key risks and procedures for auditing a retail client's inventory. Focus on obsolescence, shrink, and valuation. The result here will be a professional, context-aware memo with specific, actionable audit advice. Here's another example. Assume the persona of a forensic accountant. I will provide you with a list of expense reports. Your task is to analyze them for any patterns that might indicate fraud. As you can see, assigning a persona completely changes the quality and relevance of the output. Now it's your turn to put this into practice. Here is a scenario. A client's company manufactures two products. Product A has a high contribution margin per unit, but it takes a long time to produce on a bottleneck machine. Product B has a lower contribution margin, but it's very quick to produce on that same machine. The company has traditionally focused on product A and is now facing profitability issues. Your task is this. Your manager wants you to use an AI to draft an initial analysis explaining the core concepts that should be used to make this decision. Take a few minutes now to craft a prompt using the persona pattern to get the best possible explanation. As you were working on that exercise, you likely came up with a few different versions of your prompt. Let's look at the difference between a good, a better, and an excellent prompt. A good prompt would be something like, act as a management accountant. That's a solid start. A better prompt would be more specific. Act as a management accounting consultant, specializing in the theory of constraints. This adds a layer of expertise. But an excellent prompt is even more detailed. Act as an experienced MBA professor teaching a class on managerial accounting. Explain the concept of contribution margin per unit of a constrained resource to a student who thinks they should always prioritize the product with the highest contribution margin per unit. Use the provided scenario to create a simple, clear example. This excellent prompt defines the persona, the target audience, the specific concept to explain, and the context, which will yield the best result. This brings us to our final key idea for today. The persona pattern tells the AI who to be. The next step is to give it the what, the specific data and context it needs to do its job. Connecting this back to our activity, your excellent persona prompt was the first half of the equation. The second half would be to provide the actual data from the client, the selling prices, the variable costs, and the machine hours per unit for both product A and product B. This is what we mean by introducing new information to the AI. A great prompt combines both a clear persona and all the necessary context. Let's summarize what we've learned today. First, the quality of an AI's answer is a direct reflection of the quality of your prompt. Second, prompt patterns are like recipes for success that give you a repeatable structure. Third, the persona pattern, using the phrase act as AE, is the most powerful first step you can take to get expert-level results. And finally, always remember to provide both a clear persona and the necessary context and data for the task you want the AI to perform.